Okay, we just started our recording for the event, so I'll give it a few more minutes to just get everyone who is wanting to attend to join, since it's just 1 o'clock here for me.
While we're waiting, if you guys want to put anything in the chat box, just confirm that you can hear us okay, or maybe what state or city you're calling in from. That will let us make sure that we could see your chats as well. That would be fantastic. Oh, Marissa, we got a Texas person.
Oh, nice. I'm in Texas too. Okay, I think we can go ahead and get started. Our first few slides are just kind of transitioning into the virtual design charrette that we're going to do today. So since it is 1:02, I'm going to go ahead and get started.
Awesome. First, we would just want to do a quick round of introductions. I don't know if you guys have been on the prior Mastering Splashpad offerings that we have had, but if you have, then you know I am Jennifer Lazzarini, and if not, it is nice to meet you. I joined Waterplay almost 2 years ago now, as part of the design and specification team, and I support design firms throughout California, Oregon, and Washington at this point in time. I did come to Waterplay with about 8 years of experience in the playground industry, where I did both the design and the sales aspect for the manufacturer there. And I'm really excited to be part of the Waterplay design team, where I get to help support the designers such as yourselves throughout the West Coast, really put together amazing splash pad spaces for communities to connect and play in. And then I also want to introduce Jen Mahan. She is the one on the far right-hand side of the screen. She is actually out enjoying her new little bundle of joy on maternity leave, but she is an amazing asset to our team and is going to be missed over the next year or so as she enjoys watching her little baby grow. And we look forward to having her return to the team next year. I'm going to turn it to Jeff to introduce himself.
Yeah, hello everyone. I'm Jeff Scobie. I'm the technical specialist for our design spec team. I've been with Waterplay for about 6 years now. It'll be just 6 actually coming into the new year. My background is in mechanical engineering technology. So anything technical wise, features, piping layouts, CAD, all that sort of stuff runs through me.
And I'm Marissa. So this is my screen that you're going to be looking at for today's design charrette. So I'm running the design for today, and I am in Texas. I have been with Waterplay for about 2 years as well. I actually have my master's degree in architecture. I worked in an architecture firm for a little bit, and landscape architects and architects have, similar drawing sets. So I really understand what landscape architects need when it comes to the specifications and drawing side of things. And yeah, so I think we can go ahead and get started. So we're just going to begin with a little lighthearted Q&A. This is going to really just make sure that you guys are understanding how we're going to run the presentation for today. So I'm hoping you guys have a phone readily available so that you can scan this QR code and participate. It's how we're going to move forward with the design and get answers to a lot of the questions we're going to be asking so that you guys can really influence the design and make those decisions yourself. If you're at your personal computer, maybe you can open up another tab and go to minty.com, and we will have codes for each one of these. So I'm going to transition over to our first. So pull out your phone, pull out the camera, scan this QR code. That's going to be the easiest form for you guys, and then it should prompt you for this type of question. It's actually ranking your answers. So you can select multiple designs, multiple options, and then put it in the order that you like. And then you can go ahead and submit once you have your answers in there. And like I said, this is just kind of a practice introduction. This is how we're going to be doing the rest of the virtual design charrette. So if you guys are maybe in a conference room or you don't have your phone out, go run and grab it, because it's how we're going to be moving forward with this presentation. And if you're having any technical issues, send it in the chat. We can help you guys figure out how to answer this. We're going to have maybe about 7 more of these questions that go along with the design charrette throughout this presentation. So it looks like we have a winner for the Central Park in New York, which everyone knows that one. Looks like we had votes for all of them though, actually, so that's awesome. Okay, to get you guys started, I just want to do a little recap on our Mastering Splashpad sessions that we've been doing. This is the 4th and last one. Our first one that we did was Splashpads 101, where we looked at kind of the general progress of a project. We looked at Swan Park in Beaver Dam, and we looked at it from the first time that the city came to us and the landscape architects asked for a design. We went through all the different considerations and changes that project went through, all the way into construction and install and even post support. So we just followed that project along throughout the entirety and talked about, how to design a splash pad. Any questions that you guys had, we answered. And if you happened to miss that first one, we actually have it up on YouTube. You can watch it back.
Perfect. And then the next session that we did was called Fun for All, and it was really where we focused on inclusive play as well as risky play. These are definitely key buzzwords within the industry and making sure that our communities and our kids have access to both of them. But our focus on this was actually how to integrate both of those into a singular play space or splash pad specifically. So we again used Swan Park as our case study in this example and really honed in on how we can take a lot of different items that might be considered inclusive play, but also make sure that they had that element of risk based on the graduated risk that we talked about. So a perfect example of this is you can see the boy here that is in a wheelchair and he's underneath the mega soaker. So it is very easy for us to assume or make assumptions that maybe kids that have differencing abilities might not want to go under a mega soaker. That is definitely not something that we're experiencing as we do more research and education. So we want to make sure that those opportunities are available for everybody in a very safe way, but also in a very fun way.
And the third presentation was done by yours truly. It was Let's Get Technical. It basically just went over everything in heavy detail as far as the water treatment systems or recirculation systems and everything that's involved in that. How we do piping, the components that are involved in a full splash pad buildup. So again, if you'd want to go back over that, YouTube has our video on it, and yeah, you can have a few laughs along the way.
And then so today, we're going to review what we've learned so far. We've done a little bit of that, and we're also going to have some aquatic trivia coming up. We're going to learn how to incorporate those design philosophies and concepts to create a unique splash pad designed by all of you guys. We're also going to apply the techniques and trainings that we have talked about in the past to ensure that the splash pad design will work, once it's on site. And then we're going to celebrate. We're going to recap all that was accomplished and toast to the holiday season upon us. So let's recap and let's, play some aquatic trivia. I'm going to switch back over to Mentimeter again. So scan this QR code. This one's going to be a sort of quiz that you guys can follow along with. So once you scan that QR code and you are in, you can go ahead and click that thumbs up so that we know how many people are in there waiting, or you can just stand by and wait for me to click to the next slide. So I'm going to give you guys just a second because I think we had a couple people in the last one vote. So scan that QR code down at the bottom, or you can go to minty.com and type in that code at the top. Okay, I'm going to get started. Okay, so the faster that you answer these questions, the more points you'll actually get. So what country is credited with creating the first public splash pad? And you guys have 30 seconds to submit your answer for this one. Oh, everyone has voted. Nice job. So yes, the correct answer was Canada for that one. They are credited with creating the first public splash pad. So question 2. Is it required to zone a splash pad based on age ranges? That correct answer is false. It is not required to zone the splash pad based on age ranges, although we do like to do it. Question 3. Splash pads are typically required to have fencing around them. Okay, nice. That was an easy one. Everyone got that one. That is false. What treatment options are used to keep the water clean and safe? Everyone has voted. And this one was a trick question. Actually, all 3 of those options would have worked because they're all different options that we use to treat the water. Where in the world is Waterplay's largest splash pad installed? We have talked about this in the past presentations. Oh, split. The correct answer was Mexico. And last one, question 6 of 6. Referring to splash pads, GPM stands for what? Nice. Everyone got that. Gallons per minute. Okay, so I hope that was fun. I hope you guys have kind of gotten the hang of this interactive feature that we're going to be using a lot. So I'm just going to switch back over to the PowerPoint. And we're going to get started on the design shred. So we have come up with client 1 and client 2 who are looking for 2 completely different projects. And you guys are going to be able to vote for which client you want to move forward with. I'll start by presenting client 1. She is going to be Sally with the Landscape Architect Design Group. She is looking for her city park project. This project is going to be open to the public. It's a new build. They have a large space available for it. The site is going to be in a warmer region. Think Texas, Florida, Southern California, something along those lines. And they're really wanting an urban aesthetic or a plaza-like design that's going to fit in the space. They're thinking a timeless color scheme, and their main goal is just to bring the community together with some fun. They have a $150K budget for features alone, and they're not quite sure if they want recirculating or flow through. They don't have enough information on it. And they've also kind of provided these inspiration photos. As you can see, it's a downtown area. They liked this other project of Waterplay, even thinking about using the park at night. And here is that site. You can see it's somewhere 65 feet by 150 feet space available that we would put the splash pad in somewhere. Open to the public. It's the connection point of Main Street and 2nd Street downtown where people walk across a lot. The surrounding buildings and skyscrapers, plaza-like design, etc. And then Jen's going to present client 2.
Awesome. So project number 2 is being handled with Paul from Aquatic Design Collective. And this is actually going to be part of an existing aquatic park renovation. So they have a large park already with a couple of pools. And as what they're going to be doing is converting one of those pools into a beach entry to make it more accessible to their community and the people utilizing this space. That they're actually going to be adding on a splash pad as well to an area that's designated within the park. So we do have a little bit of a limited space when it comes to the existing areas that we're going to be using. They want to make sure that this is a very bright, colorful, imaginative space for kids to enjoy and the families to come play with. They are even considering maybe a theme within that space if we want to do that. They really want to make sure that kids of all ages are going to be engaged in being able to play. So from the littles to, our grandmas and grandpas that might be coming out to help play on the splash pad. The budget here is $300,000, and that does include a potential activity tower to put into the beach entry pool as well. Other things that they want to include are a large dumping bucket and potentially light floor as a possibility so that they can see what that looks like and what costs might be involved. They're very much set on having a recirculation system that can tie into the existing pool, as well as adding a new one for the splash pad that they're going to be putting in there. And then again, just making sure that it's inclusive for all ages and abilities. And then Marissa, next slide, thank you. It is a little bit lagged here, so when I'm talking, if we're switching slides, just give me a second to catch up to what Marissa's doing on her side. This is the site here, and you can see I went ahead and kind of bubbled in where the tower and the splash pad are going to be. So you can see that we are a little bit more limited than client number 1. So the splash pad is going to be in that new beach entry pool, and then, the activity tower and the beach entry pool. And they want to make sure that, there's still lots of space for kids to play around in that area also. So they don't want this, to take over the entire space. And then the community does pay to use this space. So we could keep that in mind when we're picking out different options and features as well.
Perfect. Now we're going to hand it over to you guys to vote which client we're going to move forward with the design charrette. So again, client 1 is looking for that city park, and client 2 is looking for that aquatic park.
And Kimberly, I know yours isn't working. If you want, I can go ahead and vote for you if you type it in there so that it pops up, if that works. I see Daniel picked client 1. We can just kind of augment here. I don't know, Jeff or Marissa, if you guys are typing, but if other people type in the chat, maybe we could take.
Okay. I'm not seeing the chat, Jen.
So if you don't mind. Yeah, I can definitely monitor it.
Thank you.
It looks like Kimberly was able to get it to work on her phone. So I think we should be all set with her.
I'll give you guys a few more minutes, but it's looking like right now we have the winner as client 1, City Park. Oh, another vote for that. Okay, I think that's going to be our clear winner then. I'll just give you guys a few more minutes. Okay, that looks pretty good. So what's next? We're going to look at all the design information and review before we get started on this design. So looking at client one, what shape should the splash pad be? Thinking about that, as you can see, I kind of threw in a square, a circle, or a flower on that right side. They have that 65-foot by 100-foot space available. That's a really, really large space, so it's probably going to be a splash pad within that. And keep in mind, people are still going to need room to cross through, so you wouldn't want a wet zone, blocking the entire path there. And then also kids playing too close to the street is another design consideration we can think about here. If there are any design considerations that I'm not thinking of, feel free to shoot it in the chat and Jen can, express that for us. What features should we choose? Like they mentioned, they wanted a timeless design that's going to really fit into that surrounding urban aesthetics with buildings and skyscrapers. And they also have trees. There's 2 lawns on the side as well. I would recommend avoiding themes and characters because of their timeless aesthetic that they're going for, and definitely remembering the play zones, trying to accommodate for kids with that adventure zone, the exploration zone, and that discovery zone. And then what mechanical systems and GPM should we be designing with? This can be decided once we get further into the design. They said they had 150K budget. Is that correct, Jen? I might have to go back a few slides.
That was correct. Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. I'm just going to double check with that. 150K with features. Sorry if it's jumping all over the place on your end. And so they're open to either that flow through or recirculating system. So basically what we're going to look at is making sure we're designing with their budget. And then if they are around or under 150 GPMs, then we can recommend a flow through. And if they're higher, then we would recommend a recirculating. So that's something that we're going to get into later with the design. So what's next? Now that we've looked at all that information and the design considerations, we're going to get started in Waterplay Interactive. And this is just an awesome program that you guys as designers can actually have on your desktop program if you guys wanted to use it yourself whenever you have a design. And it is going to bog down my computer a little bit. So if you guys don't mind, I'm going to go ahead and turn my camera off.
And this is a program, I know it's hard to type and talk at the same time, Marissa, so I'll chat a little bit while you get this loaded up. But this is a great program. We actually use it on a daily basis. This is our go-to. If you guys send us a CAD file or a PDF, we put your designs into this system, and it makes it very easy and fluid for us to design a project for you, or even multiple options we can do fairly quickly. We could pull renderings out of here, get marketing sheets, CAD files, pretty much anything that you guys want for a specific project. So it definitely is a very, very helpful tool to have readily available for us.
Absolutely. And it's fairly easy to use. As you can see, this is that site that we just shared. And you can click this and it'll kind of put you at a kid's or parent's eye view and you can twirl around. So this is our site that we're going to be working with. So the next Minty quiz that we're going to be doing to get you guys input is the shape selection. So thinking about that site that we have available in client 1, are you guys going to want to design a splash pad that's maybe in this flower shape to the left, a kidney bean as I like to call it in the center, a square, or a circle? It's completely up to you guys. And I'm just going to bring up Mentimeter and go ahead and present this one. It's a new QR code, so you guys can scan it and go ahead and vote as well.
And if any of you have problems voting, just let us know and I can submit something for you.
Mm-hmm. And this one is a one selection. This one's not a ranking, so you get one vote. Well, it looks like there might be a tie. I forgot to mention if we do end up having a tie, Jeff will be the deciding factor.
And I see Kimberly voted for a circle. It looks like maybe she wasn't able to vote online. So that would put us at 3 for the circle and 2 for the square.
Okay, perfect. So far, circle is winning.
Definitely the circle now. We're at 4 and 2.
That seems to be the number of the past votes as well. So I think we are good to go with circle being our winner.
Fantastic.
So what I'm going to do in Waterplay Interactive is I'm just going to go over to the side a little bit and go ahead and insert a circle splash pad.
And you could see here as she's doing this, this is where we're going to be setting up the main parameters of what the specific splash pad is going to be. We could set the overspray zones, the size of the space, and then we can always go back in and make adjustments as well.
So as you can see, what I brought in is kind of large. So we can actually scale this down a good bit because like we talked about, we wanted people to have room to walk past. Sometimes it's a little tricky to grab.
It's a little bit harder when you're putting it on top of another space. Yay, you found the spot. It's a little trial and error sometimes, but that's okay.
And I think that looks pretty good, honestly. Maybe a little bit bigger since that overspray zone is technically where people will walk as well. What do you think, Jen and Jeff?
I think that looks
good. I think it looks good. And I just wanted to mention that as you change the size of your pad, the shape of it, it does update down in the bottom here for your square footage. So if you do have a particular size you're looking for, you can scale it up and down to match that.
Perfect. So this is where we're at with the design right now. I think it looks pretty good. Okay, sorry, my computer is just a little bit lagging. But the next survey we're going to be doing is on the feature selection package. So we've actually, sorry guys, just give me 1 second. We've actually put features together already, and as part of the design, it should be showing client 1, just so you guys know. I know there's probably a lag, but so Jen's going to talk about her feature selection. This first one to the left, that's with the pink bubble around it.
Perfect. So for my feature selection is what I put together was starting with the biggest element, which will be our mega soaker. This is, one of our tallest features. It produces the most gallons of water being dumped out at a given point in time. And the bucket that it goes in is actually, it's not see-through. So the kids don't know how full it is when it's going to dump, and they can't have that, and they build the anticipation up, but they're not going to be able to see it actually happening. The next item that I picked on here is the rain cap, and that's got the kind of teal top on the right below the mega soaker. And I love this one because it's about 9 feet high, and it's very easy for kids to kind of duck under the water. They can get their head wet and then sort of have a safe zone. They can hide behind it. Adults can fit under it, and it's super inclusive for everybody. I also selected a waterfall and a basin. They're kind of separated on the pink tab, but you could see the 3 little leaves, and then at the top, just the little table. Those typically get put together to provide a nice, really interactive water play space. And then the coronade, which is a water cannon. And we typically put these in with 2 or 3 so that kids can kind of spray water at their friends, try and attack their younger brothers or sisters, and things like that. The next couple are a little bit more fun for the littler guys or kids that might not be as comfortable with the water, starting with the Funbrella. And that is just going to be a sheet of water that's coming out of the top that kids can hide under. It's very similar to kind of a concept of the rain cap, but on a very much smaller scale. And then the spiral tunnel is a series of 4 rings that are going to be put back to back that kids could run through, again, submerging their entire heads in the water. The water weaver is a fun, interactive one that kids can play with. A lot of times you see them pretending that it's like jump rope or something like that. And then we put in a mix of different ground sprays from very small to a little bit taller so that it provides different play values for each of the kids as well.
And as they were going through, as Jennifer and Marissa were putting all this through, and they talked about urban aesthetic and all that, I completely ignored them. And they're used to that. So I went with a little bit more of a colorful theme. I'm not a landscape designer. I am definitely a mechanical guy. So we've got the middle sky soaker, the acrylic, as well as the poly palms, those trees in there. They have a really nice shadow play on the ground. When the sun shines through, they create this really nice look on the ground with different colors and everything. The octopus in the top left, and sorry, we're talking about the orange spot here on the screen. The octopus in the top left, it's got a multitude of small little sprayers for the kids to be playing with. That middle octopus head does have spray out of there as well, so it's just a really nice zoned spot. The USO in the top right, kids, very smaller kids for sure, really enjoy being able to manipulate the sprays and cover them up and try and create different effects on that. Then when we start getting into ground sprays, obviously we're going to have a variety. I really like the donut, which is in the bottom left-hand corner. As kids go over and step on that or put their hands on that, the other jets, because they're all linked, the other jets do spray higher. It's a really cool effect. And then this puddle kind of bottom middle with the blue bladder on it, that bladder fills up. The sprays are always coming out a little bit, but when the kids jump on that, they really get a really nice kind of a blast effect out of that, which is a lot of fun. So
perfect. And that last blue blob to the right is going to be a feature selection that I chose. I tried to pick very sculptural, artistic looking features. So our sphere is just a very simple, I believe it's 36-inch and 24-inch. There's 2 different sizes. 360 sphere with a nozzle at the top that you can change the water effect for. So you can have a couple different ones. The helixes, which are just a kind of curved pole sticking out from the ground, are very simple and timeless, and you can direct water to spray in a particular zone with them as well. I also selected a couple different of our surf stones and sandstones, and these are a precast concrete with nozzles coming out of them and different ground spray water effects. I think they fit really well with natural themes and also urban themes because of that architectural look that comes with them. I also picked 2 features that are from our Wild Woods nature themed, the Aneth Bloom and the Morning Grass. I chose these because I think you can be fun and creative with them and maybe arrange them to where they don't necessarily look like leaves and flowers, but they look like, shade pieces or an entry orb and some, fun designs with them like that. So these are our 3 feature selection packages. Option 1 is going to be the one that Jen talked about, all the way to the left with pink. Option 2 is going to be that middle one that Jeff talked about in the orange circle. And then option 3 is going to be in the blue. So I'm going to switch back over to Mentimeter and you guys can vote. And I believe this one is going to be a ranking. So you'll actually be able to put them in order that you liked them best, and we'll be able to decide a winner. So go ahead and scan that QR code and vote.
Perfect. I will vote for Kimberly, just so that you know.
Thanks, Jen.
Of course. And Kimberly said, sorry, Jeff. If you know who Kimberly is. I'm not sure. looks like we have 5 votes right now. I think we've been getting 5 or 6 depending on which one.
Perfect. It looks like there's kind of a general consensus that option 3 and option 1 were pretty good. So it's looking like option 3, which was the aneth bloom, the helixes, the morning grass, those stones, may be our winner. What do you guys think?
Sounds good.
Okay, sounds good. So I'm going to switch back over to Waterplay Interactive, and now we're going to throw some of these features in. And Jen is going to help me while I run this program. She's going to just go ahead and tell me the features, and I'm going to throw them in real time.
Yep, perfect. So let's go ahead and start with the aneth bloom, Marissa. I'll just go in order.
And we have an aneth bloom 3 and an aneth bloom 1, which you guys can see. This one has 3 flowers on top, and this one has 1. I'll throw both of them in for at this point.
And then the helixes?
Perfect. We got one of those.
And the morning grass 2 is what one I think you chose.
Perfect. We also have morning grass 3, which I just believe has less of a curve to it, and the morning grass 1, which may be either taller or shorter.
And then the solus?
And like I said, we have 2 sizes for these. So I'll go ahead and throw both sizes in.
Fantastic. And then the surf stones, and you did one of each, I'm thinking.
Perfect.
And you can see here, Marissa's just kind of plopping them in there for now. And then sandstone, yep, you got it.
Yeah, okay. Any other ones that we missed? Maybe a activator?
Definitely an activator that wasn't on our list. So all splash pads need an activator unless it's part of an aquatic center. That's something that we could talk about later if you wanted. And then you did have a confetti spray on there. I don't know if you want to choose your ground sprays after you step in, but that was the one.
Absolutely. I love when we have a circle splash pad to throw one of these donut or volcanoes in the center. I just feel like it really centers the design.
Absolutely. And then go ahead, Marissa.
Oh, I was just also going to say, when we have these stones, I love using more than one and kind of, trickling them down. The good thing with Waterplay Interactive is when you have all these features in, you can actually throw this ADA effect on, and it can help you place things to make sure they're not too close together with one another. As you can see, they're flashing red, but when I move them, that red goes away.
And that's really helpful, just because as we were talking, in our Fun for All, we definitely want to make sure that kids can maneuver this space very easily. All of our ground sprays are flush to ground. However, if you throw the surf stones in there, you want to make sure that kids can get through those at any given point in time. And as what Marissa's doing right now is actually sort of going through all of the different features, comparing, the water flow, the budget, but then also putting together the play zones, which we have talked about a little bit. And you can see the budget is climbing up in the top middle. So as she places different things in here, we could see that we're getting closer to that $150,000 budget that they had requested. And then she's also creating the different spaces for our adventure zone, which, we don't have a large dumping bucket on here, but we want to make sure that the kids still have that unexpected fun play value that can be put in here. And they'll be able to find that from the water coming down up above. We could also put in different ground sprays that might be like team effects or different ways. And that's what she did with the donut. So those are placed together. So if a kid steps on one, it's going to impact the height and the reaction of the other ground sprays that are coming out of there also.
Yeah, one thing I like to do is just think about features in a different way so that these morning grass can actually be arranged kind of pointing together or either pointing outwards to create this really interesting kind of circle that I can imagine kids collecting underneath.
Absolutely.
And another fun thing that we can actually do with the helices is we can make them into a DNA structure. So you can stack them on top of each other. Like this. And as you can see, they kind of weave in and out with one another. So we're at 137. So we're getting up there with the budget. I'm going to go ahead and fill the remainder space with some ground sprays. Another confetti right here. What do you think, Jen? Any input?
I personally would probably add in some either monsters. We have a little bit of wiggle room on the GPMs if we want to stay under the 150. Those are nice to add to the discovery and development zone so that kids have a water feature that is only about 4 to 6 inches high for them to play in and get really comfortable with that water that's not going to be going over their head. And as you can see, Marissa's kind of scattering them around, but it's also leading up to where the rocks are, which is another great area for kids to kind of start their entry level investigating at before they start getting water being dumped on their head.
What about a cannon? I feel like some interactive, fun, competitive play with kids trying to get one another might be cool over here.
Absolutely.
Okay, how are we feeling with this design?
I think that looks good. I do see just a couple of questions in the chat, so I'll go ahead and address those. The budget is for parts only, so it includes all the features that you see here. It doesn't include shipping, and it does include like all of the footing information. So if you work with us, our footings are called play phase bases, so it includes all of the underground play phase base as well as the above ground features. And it does not include installation because installation is, we work worldwide, is going to vary so vastly based on, from California to Texas. But then if we start throwing in, Australia and Europe, it's definitely going to be very complicated for a program to be able to include that. Perfect. I think it's looking pretty good.
Okay, awesome.
Let's just add that budget. So
just bear with me 1 second. I know it's showing the wrong screen. My computer is just lagging, you guys. Okay, so the next thing to do is color selection. So we're going to hand it over to you guys again to vote for the different color scheme that you want this design to be. We have kind of put together already some options for this, and we even got a little creative and did a little holiday color scheme just to mix things up. So I'm going to switch over to Mentimeter again. And you guys can scan that QR code and vote. Oh, I don't actually see the QR code. Give me 1 second. Let me add that, you guys. There we go. Let me present. Sorry, just bear with me for 1 second.
And Kimberly, I see you chose the cool purple, so I will go ahead and update that on Minty.
Okay.
See if a couple more people get the votes in here. You are not. I love it. At least we're interacting. This one is definitely, we knew that there might be some technical issues, so we're going with the punches here, which is all part of technology nowadays, right? As long as we can have fun with it, that's what matters. So we have 3 for the purple and 1 for blue. There are a couple more votes out there. And then we got 1 for circus as well. So it looks like 1 person couldn't vote also. So 1 for circus, 1 for blue, and 3 for purple.
Okay. Looks like the cool tones and the purples might win. Looks like we've got a sage, a turquoise. It's got purple and plum in there. And then I think black and white maybe, or black and beige as well. I think that fits that timeless design pretty well, honestly, so considering we have client 1. I'm going to go ahead and stick with that's our winner, the cool purple.
Sounds good.
So in Waterplay Interactive, some of the features that we can change are this Solus. I'll go ahead and make this one a deep purple and its little buddy next to it, the regular purple. These features here, what color should we do these? Maybe a sage would look nice for all of them to have kind of the same color. Or maybe mixing it up and doing different. We'll try both and see what happens. And then the aneth bloom, you can actually make all these different flowers on top of different colors. So this one might be tricky. I don't think we had too many purples in there. I might go with orange and then try to do a beige. That might not look too bad.
And you can see how quickly this is just to change and play with colors. Even if you have a client that wants, loves the design but isn't set on colors, you can quickly do a couple of different options with different colors to show them what that would look like without spending tons of time doing redesigns and things like that.
Mm-hmm. Looks like we forgot about these Wiggly Juniors over here, so I'm going to go ahead and change them. I think we're missing some of that turquoise, right? I don't have that in there yet.
So, yeah.
Okay. Let's do a purple and turquoise, and then his guy next to it can be purple and turquoise as well, but flipped. Let's see how that looks. Oh, fun. I think the only thing standing out for me is that other aneth bloom. I might go ahead and change.
And with the little cannons or wigglies or whichever option you choose for those interactive features, it's fun to do them different colors, even if it's just flipping them like Marissa has done, because a lot of kids will be like, I get the purple one, or I get the blue one, and go running for it, and kind of, reminds me of when we were kids and we used to call, front seat, right? So it provides a little bit of a competitive edge in there as well for kids that want to kind of claim what they're playing with.
Absolutely. And with colors, you can play around until you find the right fit, or even do like multiple color options. I always kind of can spend all day playing around with the colors until I figure out the right one, honestly. I think we'll stick with sage for the flowers.
The Aqualum colors would be great to have a few more options available, that's for sure. It's such a beautiful material.
Okay, I think we're good here. let's see what's next. Okay, so as we all know during project progression, sometimes the client comes back and actually shaves off some of that original budget. So we have come to kind of a hiccup in the road where the buyer is requesting an updated design. They want to keep everything that the design had with the same design intent, but kind of shave off that 25% reduced budget. So we went with client one. The original budget was $150K, taking off 25%, which is about $37,500. That's going to bring the budget down now to $112. So we have to make some design decisions to cut that back. Personally, these helixes look awesome, but I usually take out the repeating features first to try to have that same exact design intent without compromising the design too much. So I would take out one of these helices and then maybe update one of the aneth blooms instead of the 3 to the 1 and see where we are at. We're still over. Jen, do you have any suggestions for what you might take out? Some stones maybe?
I would maybe take out a couple stones and maybe even one of the morning grasses and try and still create sort of a circular effect or flip them so that they're pointing outwards.
Oh, absolutely. Good idea.
To take up a little bit of the space that we lost there. And that gets us pretty close.
We also have 2 Wiggly Juniors. We could take out one of these.
We could, or even one of the sandstones. The sandstones are great little seating areas, but they don't, there's no water feature coming out of it. So that could be an easy way for them to pull, a rock from surrounding area or do something like that without losing a lot of play value also.
Yeah, absolutely. Those are very, very expensive. Okay. Now we're too far, so I'm going to go and replace some of these monsters just to fill in that space right here, and then maybe
add back a Wiggly or...
Yeah, let's add back.
Just actually putting the Wiggly back in, Marissa, just because we do need to keep the flow rate a little bit conscious. So if you remove a couple of the monsters, we can bring that flow rate back down, probably get right onto our 112 and still make this flow through accessible.
And I love Jeff chiming in with the technical stuff. He keeps Marissa and I in control when we're doing our designs. He's like, nope, can't do that.
I'm the buzzkill. So,
So how does this look? We're at 141 and 111,500. So that looks like a good price and a pretty good GPM to me.
Absolutely. And, stuff is spread out, but it's quite okay to have just a little bit of free area for kids to play around. Or another thing that we could suggest as a cost reducing measure is if they do shrink that splash pad down a little bit, it's just a little bit less cement work that they're going to have to be doing within that area, but we can leave that up to the designer as well. So just things to consider.
Absolutely.
I think that still looks good, very similar to the original design intent, and it meets their goal.
Perfect. Okay, I think that concludes our design charrette portion. Although if you guys have any input, any ideas, any questions, if you guys are worried about any of the features being too close together, now is the time that we are kind of opening it up to you guys and, giving us your input and ideas. So I'm going to go ahead and do the last interactive session that we have for this, where you guys can share your thoughts. And then after that, we're going to go ahead and render out the project, add the mechanical systems, and send it to you guys so you can review.
Yep, and if you have feedback and you want to just type it in the chat, I'm happy to read that back to Marissa also to take into consideration.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
It looks like someone is typing there. turned out great. Can we put the helices close together where they blink red? I always feel like I have to take them more apart. So yes, Kimberly, we can actually overlap them because of the way we're putting it together. To me, it reminds me a little bit about when I was doing playground designs that, you know, if you put items close enough together, it's actually called functionally linking them. So it actually picks it up as more of one item versus multiple items. So we're doing essentially the same thing here with the helices, where we're putting it closer together. Now, obviously, you know, children won't be able to, you know, if they're in a mobility device, be able to roll through it necessarily, but they will have access to it all the way around the outside, which is what is important in this feature specifically. So it would still be considered ADA compliant or acceptable.
Yeah, and even with the surf stones, you can bunch them up a little bit tighter if you want. Again, it's the ADA accessibility and it's the interpretation of that. So as long as the feature is being utilized or is allowed to be utilized by all participants in the way it was intended, then you can still access that feature. So they might be spraying kind of out away from the circle, and so the feature is still available to be accessed and used by all participants in that fashion. So then your ADA is still covered. So there's a whole lot of gray area around it. So it's just something to watch out for. And if you do want to create that space, feel free to reach out to your salesperson or design spec person just to make sure that everything seems kosher on that. But there's quite a bit of gray area as far as the ADA goes.
Yep, absolutely. And I know we're getting close to time. Marissa, did you want to have Jeff help just throw in the quick flow through system? It looks like we kept it under 150. So for this one, we'd probably end up with a flow through system that we would recommend, especially with budget being a concern here.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think what we'll do, Jen, is we'll just send this out. We can do that quote. We'll send out the renders on it. But if there's any questions at all around how you want a system like this to operate, as far as the controllers, manifold, anything like that, feel free to shoot me an email. I can go over it. I can pull up this particular presentation as an example, and we can kind of go over my thought process with it.
Absolutely.
Perfect, Wardell. I think that went really well. So thank you guys so much.
Yes, thank you. And Kimberly, I do see your question in there. So that is definitely going to be, and Jeff, I'm not sure if you could see the questions, but she said, what if we did want to resurf? Where would we put it? I think the key here is really understanding the rest of the site plan, where the building is going to be that's going to house that. And Jeff can speak to like the distancing of how far that ideally is and things like that. But that's going to be one of the key deciding factors for that.
Yeah, lots of these, Kimberly, are very much, they're going to have their kind of own standalone structure. So whether it's a 4-post kind of multi-gabled building that they can drop on site and have a chain link fence around it, or if they've actually got a washroom, that sort of idea, it all depends on that. We obviously want it as close as possible to the splash pad, but that would be a separate consideration from that. And that's a lot of times where the budget is for features, for instance, are cut. So if they do want to go with a research system, then they go, well, we can't quite afford that, so we'll take a little bit out of the features, maybe reduce our recirculation requirements, and then we can start to afford all of this. So it's very useful and very helpful to continue to include us, your salesperson, the designer, all in those conversations, and then trying to figure out exactly where and how everything fits together.
Absolutely. So is what we will do is Marissa will finalize the design and put the mechanical system in there, and we will actually send the participants on the call and a package with different renderings, different views, potentially some kids playing in the space as well, so that you could get a really good idea of what comes from Waterplay Interactive if you happen to have not seen one before, and then also you guys can showcase that and say, you had a part in helping design it, even if it wasn't your option that was picked. But you could definitely take some some information back there. And then we can also do the activity tower or aquatic center design and just pull one of those options out between Marissa, Jeff, and I and put that together for you also so that you could see what that would have looked like had we chosen that design, just as a great example of both kinds of scenarios. Marissa or Jeff, did you have anything else to say? Just make sure there's no other questions here. But otherwise, I know, thank you guys for participating in the Mastering Splashpads Design Series. If you've been on all 4 of them, we really, truly thank you. It's been a great year, and we're going into that holiday season, and we are so looking forward to working with everybody in 2025. So, yeah, Marissa?
Yeah, thank you guys. That was so much fun. Thank you for all that participated and answered in the questions. If you guys have any comments about the mastering Splashpads in general, we'd love your feedback. If you guys want more of it next year or any topics that we didn't touch on or any ideas, that would be great to hear from you guys. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.